What's going on, YouTube? It is Will here, back again, once again, for yet another episode of the Gridiron Talk Podcast. Season 3, Week 15. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Last week, again, we didn't record because there was some type of, I think Shane had a family emergency, I believe.
I think
the phone or there was just some, technical issue. What did you say, Shane?
Yeah, that's my fault. I'll take blame for that week. That was some BS that I had to go through. So that was my fault. So anyone who got mad at that, just text me and blame it on me, not on Will. So yeah.
Yeah, just go ahead and call him a prick or whatnot.
Pretty much.
Seriousness, yeah, we are back, obviously, once again. This is a very crucial week in football. Good games all along, very important games all around the slate. So this is like a must-watch week for many teams. Many teams can clinch playoff berths. Some did last week. Like I said, some can this week. Some can be eliminated. So we're in that time of the football where it's getting right down to the nitty-gritty. But what would you like to say about this week of football, Shane?
It's going to be fun. That's what I can say. We got a lot of interesting games that I've been honestly waiting for all year. We got a couple games, and we'll talk about them. So we'll get right into it.
So yeah, let's go over the Thursday night game that happened obviously yesterday. We're doing it on Friday because there is games on Saturday. The NFL at the end of the year, they start putting games on Saturday. So I'm not complaining. More football. So the game yesterday was a classic NFC West rivalry between the Niners and the Seahawks. Now, the Niners did win this game 21-13. Kind of this is a game you expect from the 49ers. They score 20 points and their defense leads the way. And especially with Brock Purdy being the quarterback, this is how I would expect our game to play out from here on out. Brock Purdy was not bad. He's in a very good system with a lot of weapons. It's kind of hard to screw things up. But he was 17 for 26, 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, again, you can't really complain about that performance. That's really not bad at all. But here's the two breadwinners from the Niners offense, Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey had 25 or 26 carries, 108 yards and a touchdown. Excellent performance by him. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL. This offense is just great for him. And then George Kittle, he stepped up big. It was really a coin flip because, Deebo Samuel's hurt. He'll be out for the rest of the regular season. It was a coin flip. Who's going to step up? Is it going to be Kittle or Brandon Ayuk? Well, it was George Kittle, the people's tight end. 4 catches, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. He stepped up big without having Deebo Samuel, and he seems to be Brock Purdy's guy for the rest of the season until Deebo comes back. So, Shane, what are your thoughts without Deebo Samuel, with their third-string quarterback that was picked in the 7th round, the last pick of the draft? Do you still think they look good with Brock Purdy, or do you think they need Jimmy G to come back ASAP?
I mean, I think they're fine I think they're fine for the rest of the regular season, like you said. They did clinch their division with the win last night. And they're, like you said, their defense is they're pretty much the best defense in the NFL, and definitely the most dangerous playoff team, I'll call them, heading into the playoffs, in my opinion. And I think they'll be fine up until they hit playoffs. I think that's when you have to start playing a little bit more advanced playing on the offensive side with all your weapons. Just because, like you said, this is I think his third game he's played in, or it was his second, third.
Yeah, it was his second start. He filled in for Jimmy G a couple weeks ago, but yes, his third game playing.
So yeah, especially going into the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe Jimmy G. I don't know exactly how long Jimmy G. I'm pretty sure, is he out for the whole playoffs? I'm not sure his intel on his injury, but
he could come back for the second round in the divisional round. He's projected to be back.
All right, so I mean, honestly, I think they'll be perfectly fine if they keep doing what they're doing, just because of like you said, their weapons, their defense.
The system, it's a very easy system to succeed in.
Especially when you have the type of locker room guys you like. There's a lot of good players on that team. Like you said, like a lot of them like Jimmy G. Like Jimmy G's a people type of quarterback. They got a people type of team where like it's a very positive vibe around that team. So at least with the players and the coaches, not so much the higher up staff, but they should be fine.
I agree. So let's flip the script to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are kind of spiraling out of control. I think they're kind of falling down the earth. With they started off hot. They actually had the NFC West lead in the beginning of the season. They're looking good. On paper, this team should be really bad. With Geno Smith as the quarterback, with just not a lot of talent. But if you want to call it luck or just good drafting, they had one of the best drafts in a long time. They drafted I believe 5 or 6 starters. Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas are 2 tackles. They had Kenneth Walker, Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen, 5 starters. Right there, and they're all really good starters. So that does not happen often. So again, if you want to call it luck or you want to call it great drafting, I think it's just great drafting and good scouting. They have 2 top tier corners already. So my point is the Seahawks are supposed to be bad this year, and due to the draft and Geno Smith's breakout, they are still in the playoff hunt. So Geno Smith, he's 31 for 44, 238 yards and a touchdown. No, it's not terrible. It's not how he was playing at the beginning of the year, but it's not, it's not bad. Kenneth Walker's first game back from injury, 12 carries, 47 yards. Again, not really terrible. He was injured, and I expect him to slowly get incorporated back in the offense. Tyler Lockett, leading receiver, 7 catches, 68 yards. He's been having a very under the radar year, like always. What sucks for him, though, is he broke his finger, so I expect him to be out for most of the regular season. There's only 3 games left, and, he broke his finger. So, Shane, we talked about the Niners offense. Let's talk about the Seahawks offense. What do you think this team could still make the playoffs, or do you think they're going to slowly just spiral out of control?
I mean, we're going to talk about this multiple times, so and later in the podcast, obviously, just because of where we are in the season and how tight a lot of both conferences are actually. Because I'm looking at how the playoffs would turn out if the season ended at this moment. They wouldn't be in the playoffs. They are on the bubble. They're seated 8th. Right behind the Giants. The Giants are 7th. They're 7-7, second in the NFC West. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the rest of their schedule, so it could be a possibility. But like I said, it kind of. I feel like with the Seahawks, they're like one of those teams where it's kind of a must-win type of situation for the rest of the year. Just to get a shot, you know what I mean? Just because, we have the Lions who are 6-7, who are 9th. The Packers are 10th. It's kind of like Lions have to have a couple bad games. The Giants are 7-5-1. Washington is 7-5-1. That's the game we're going to talk about. That's going to be big. And it could happen. Seahawks could be a 7th or 6th seed in the playoffs. Which would be amazing, which would be actually a crazy story considering, like you said, they weren't even supposed to get 7 wins this year. I think they were predicted to be 4-13 or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, either way you splice it, even when, I like the Giants, and obviously I want us to make the playoffs, but if we don't, this season was a success for the Giants, no one expected the Giants to have 7 wins in December. They were probably projected 7 wins max, if that, so. All in all, the NFC playoff picture, I think the biggest surprise is because teams like the Packers and the Rams. The Rams. The Rams, defending Super Bowl champs, they've been terrible this year.
They're 15th. They're the last one loss and out. One loss and they're out. I believe.
Right.
I think
that really helps teams like the Giants and the Commanders and the Seahawks because teams that were supposed to be good this year are not. So that's very thankful for them. But looking forward for the future, the Niners look like a scary playoff team. They got a lot of questions for their future. With they have 3 quarterbacks that have been playing pretty well for them. Well, you got the question mark with Trey Lance. You got Jimmy G. Excuse me. You got Brock Purdy. So there's a lot of questions for them. And the Seahawks is like their questions are: can they complete this miracle season? Can they make the playoffs with injuries to Tyler Lockett? With Geno Smith playing how he's been playing, like it's a lot of question marks. So I guess only time can tell.
No, I definitely agree.
So let's continue on with the games upcoming. I'll start. So this is a game on Saturday. There is 3 games on Saturday. Here's the first one. We got the Indianapolis Colts, who are 4-8-1 versus the Minnesota Vikings, who are 10-3. The Vikings, they can clinch the NFC North for the first time since 2017, I believe, with Case Keenum and Diggs and Thielen. So they could have clinched it last week, but they lost to the Lions. That was a good game for the Lions. We're going to talk about them in a bit. But the Vikings, like I said, they can clinch the NFC North with a win. I think they're going to win this game. The Colts have been terrible. Their organization's in a very odd place with an interim head coach that may or may not be the future head coach of the organization. They got terrible, quarterback play. Just all around, it's a very bad season for the Colts. Now, my first question for you, Shane, is a lot of people are saying the Vikings are overrated. They're 10-3, but they have a negative point differential. Do you think the Vikings are overrated, or do you think they're just good at winning close games?
I think there's a lot of clutch players on their team. I feel like a lot of basic fans are the ones that are saying this, and we've explained how we hate basic NFL fans. So I feel like a lot of them don't understand like the small objectives and the small like key things that make football teams good, and one of them is winning close games. We could talk like the Vikings could have the record of the Lions if like they weren't good at close games. The Lions have lost a couple close games, and I think they've lost like 2 or 3. And so if they win those 3 close games, they could be 9-4. The Lions could be, but instead they're 6-7, I believe. So when it comes to the Vikings, they could be 9-4 if they didn't win a couple of those close games. So I think it's just like them doing what they need to do to win. Like you said, a win is a win, especially in the NFL.
And another thing is right that someone told me, probably my dad or someone, somebody said this to me, but they said a good team finds a way to win and a bad team finds a way to lose. That's the thing. So like look at a team like that, like the Vikings. They said they could easily be like a 9-win team, a 7-6, like a 4-win team, because if you flip all their wins, they should have lost. But they're a good team. They find a way to win. They don't commit penalties. They have clutch players like Justin Jefferson, who is just historically good.
He's a dog. That's how you say he's a dog.
He is a dog. He's historically good. He is having a better start to his career than Randy Moss, who was definitely the second best wide receiver ever, right? And when you think of the Vikings, you have a tough shoes to fill with their organization. Randy Moss, I know he's not a wide receiver, but Adrian Peterson. You got a bunch of good players that have come up that have worn that purple and gold uniform. Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, all of these receivers. Not all of them are Hall of Famers, but very good receivers. When you think of the Vikings as their team as a whole in history, you think of their wide receivers. And, Justin Jefferson is just easily filling in those shoes of being an all-time great as a Minnesota Viking for the wide receiver position, which is crazy because he's only in his 3rd year, and it's just wild to me. Now, I'm going to answer this question. Flipping the script to the Colts, how disappointing has their season been? Very disappointing. Almost unanimously, the Colts were projected to win the AFC South. It's no question that, preseason, the AFC South was the worst division in football. The Titans have been dominating it, but, they've slowly been getting worse. I know they were the 1 seed in the AFC, but the Titans are just, not the best. And the Colts were projected to be over the hump. They get Matt Ryan, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I know he's older, but, going into the season, he still had hopes. They had a good run game, a good offensive line, good receivers, a great defense, and the Colts were poised to be great. And that just hasn't worked out. If you want to, I know their offensive line has been very disappointing this year. And with a quarterback like Matt Ryan, that's just not okay. So what do you think the biggest screw up or the biggest disappointment is for the Colts this year on their team? Would you say it's Matt Ryan, the offensive line, the defense, Jonathan Taylor?
I think it's Jonathan Taylor and the offensive line. Jonathan Taylor has definitely taken big dip in his performance compared to last year. He pretty much like carried the team throughout, or carried the offense, I should say, throughout last year. And their offensive line has just been terrible. They cannot block at all, and that's been a big reason for Matt Ryan's struggles, probably Jonathan Taylor's struggles, and overall the offense and the team struggle. You got to build around your offensive line. Like, you want to build a great team, you got to start with their offensive line. So I generally take and push most of the blame of the Colts' struggles this year on their offensive line, and then obviously Jonathan Taylor's production at the running back position.
And look, a perfect example of building for the line is the Lions. You know, they have a very, very good offensive line, and their future's looking brighter and brighter. And again, we'll talk about that later. But that's just an example of building around your offensive line. You know, that's where the football starts. You know, you can't do anything on offense if you can't run block, you can't pass block. Andrew Luck. You know, real quick before I go into our picks, you know, Andrew Luck, longtime Colts quarterback, he finally opened up about why he retired from football. You know, everyone for the longest time thought it was because of injuries, which that was one of the reasons. But Andrew Luck chose family over football. He was having some spousal or marital issues because of football. He was just so focused on being good that he was basically like not showing his wife or his girlfriend at the time, I believe, any attention. So he knew that he was potentially going to be a bad husband and a bad father. So he took football away, and now he's focusing on his family. And I really respect that. You know, it takes a lot of guts to stop playing the game that you love and being a millionaire and, you know, with all the fans and, you know, to do that. You know, what do you think about that? Do you think, you know, how do you feel about Andrew Luck doing that?
I mean, I give him respect for it, but like, I think you already know what my answer is going to be. I don't think I could ever do that. There's like at least like if I had kids, then I may take the game back just a little bit, but like, there's no way I could just retire from the game like that. I don't care. Like, like any prime, like especially being that good. Like, he was arguably top 3. Would you put him before he retired? I'd put him top 3.
He retired. I mean, it's been so long ago, but he retired when Patrick Mahomes won his first MVP. That's how long ago it was.
What was that?
So,
17, 18?
I think.
18. I
take that back. No, he retired when Alex Smith, it was his last season as the Chief, because the Colts won that playoff game. So it's been, you know, he was definitely not this big, because who'd you have? You had Ryder at the time. You had Tom Brady. You had Drew Brees. Maybe Cam Newton and Matt Ryan, maybe. But he was definitely undeniably top 10.
I'd probably put him top 5, because you had Brady. You had, like you said, the only quarterbacks I could think at the time that were probably better than him, as far as my history remembers, is Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, I think he won the MVP that year. Actually, it was either him or Brady that won the MVP that year, I believe. Drew Brees, and then Russell.
Brady, because that's when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I believe.
18.
Yeah, dude,
Brady.
It was so long ago. Yeah.
Brady, Rodgers, Brees, Wilson are the only quarterbacks I could think I would pick over Andrew Luck in that time frame. So, like, I give him a lot of, like you said, I give him a lot of respect for it, because I know for a fact, and I'll openly admit it, like, when I go to the NFL, like, and if I start having a family and they're like, you know, if my wife, you know, doesn't want like me playing the game anymore, she's got to go. Like, I'm sorry, you put too much time into it. So, like, I respect him. Like, that's a different type of level of, like, not even like as a player, but as a human, a different amount of respect that I have now for him, just because like you said, like that's a lot to put behind you. You know, the money, not even the fame, but the fans, the team, your teammates, everything behind like being a professional football player for your family. So like that's mad respect to Andrew Luck for that, and especially openly admitting to it too. So
my pick to win this game, Shane, is I think the Vikings continue their trend of winning close games. I got the Vikings winning 27-20. What about you?
See, I have the Vikings winning, but I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Vikings are going to win 30-10.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't see. I don't. The Colts just they're just not that good. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting. But on to our next game. This game is also Saturday. This is gonna be the afternoon, middle of the afternoon game, the 4:30 game. It's gonna be the Ravens, who are 9-4, versus the Browns, who are 5-8. Lamar Jackson's knee injury will keep him out for a second straight week. Tyler Huntley will start, and he cleared concussion protocol yesterday after getting hurt over last week's win against the Steelers. Even though he's not as dynamic as Lamar Jackson, he's still a handful. Switching over that's with the Ravens. Switching over to the Browns. Ever since they got Roquan Smith from the Chicago through that trade, they have allowed the fewest amount of rushing yards, average 55 rushing yards per game, and the second fewest points at 13.4, as well as touchdowns with 6.
Wait, you said the Browns. You meant the Ravens, right?
Yes, my bad. Sorry. And then now switching over to Browns, my bad. Deshaun Watson, who spent the first 11 games this year serving an NFL suspension for alleged sexual misconduct, makes his first home debut as a Brown, as they will host the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. This will be Watson's third actual game back, but first in front of Cleveland fans. So my first question for you here, Will, is how do you think the Cleveland fans will treat Deshaun Watson in his first game back home, like as a Cleveland Brown in front of the home crowd?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if you've seen like what people have been saying like on the road, but people just calling him like a piece of shit. That's called him a rapist. I think some people have even called him like Bill Cosby. So I mean, on the road, he is not getting a proper treatment, which I'm not. I kind of agree with what people are saying. Like he's a piece of shit for what he did, but that's a whole nother story. But on the home side of things, Browns fans are gonna welcome him with open arms. I don't think they should. I kind of think that's shitty as well. But he's their franchise quarterback right now, so that negativity will not be here in Cleveland. If it is, I'll be very shocked.
I mean, I can see them, like, I can see some of the fans, like, outside of the game, like when he doesn't have the uniform on and everything, being that way towards them, like as the community standpoint, but as like a Cleveland Browns like fan base, I don't think they're gonna give them the terrible reaction as like Houston did and the other teams have. Back over to the Ravens. Obviously, we've mentioned their defense has been playing really well lately, but their offense has kind of been struggling a little bit. Do you think Lamar Jackson's injury will impact where they stand in the playoffs going forward, in the playoff chase, Will?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Going into when Lamar was injured, or before he got injured, I apologize. The Ravens were first in the AFC North, and I think they still are by the virtue of a tiebreaker, but you'd have to be crazy to think that the Ravens are going to hold on to the lead over the Bengals. I don't think it's going to happen. If they had Lamar, I would say it's plausible, but, I just don't think they can hold on. But one thing that they have been good, like you said, Shane, is their defense. I don't think people realize how good Roquan Smith was until he was on the Ravens, because he was on the Bears, obviously. And yeah. Roquan Smith's a beast. Obviously, he went to Georgia. You're a big Georgia fan, and he is just a beast. And the Ravens had a big question, like what to do this offseason, because, Roquan Smith is a free agent. Are they going to re-sign Lamar Jackson? Or are they going to re-sign Roquan Smith? It's going to be a question. I don't think they can do both. So it's like you got to pick one or the other,
I mean, if they're going to have to try to maybe they can get a deal out of, Lamar Jackson to take less money so they can kind of, how Brady did. He reconstructed his contract so they could get so the Patriots could get more players. And obviously when he came to Tampa, they could get more players to surround him. So maybe Lamar will take less money. So Lamar seems like that type of team guy. He seems like it, but who knows? I think they should try to convince Lamar to reconstruct his contract or get a smaller contract, so they can, because like you said,
franchise tag him,
all that. But that could that has a little bit of an effect around some other players. I don't know who they have next year under the free agent market, or who's going to be a free agent, I should say. But they definitely need Smith. They definitely need both players back if they want to be as good as they have been this year and next year. So, especially with the Bengals and the Chiefs and all these other teams in the AFC, they need to keep up and they need to have as many elite players as they can. So, it'll be interesting. But who do you have winning this game, Will?
The Browns have been playing. Their offense has been pretty bad since Deshaun Watson's gotten back, which most people should have seen that coming because he hasn't played football in a long time. That's that's expected, But I think this game is the game where Deshaun Watson kind of flourishes. He doesn't have a breakout game, but he gets better. And they need to start using Nick Chubb more. I know we haven't even talked about him, but Nick Chubb's a beast, and I also have him on my fantasy team, and it's a fantasy playoff. So please just give him the ball. I want to win. But in all seriousness, Nick Chubb is a beast, and he is the focal point of this offense. It doesn't matter who's under center, and he's been pretty quiet too since Deshaun Watson's been taking control of the offense. So I think the Browns are going to win. I think it'll be a very defensive, slow game. Give me the Browns 17-13. What about you, Shane?
Really? All right. I see Will going with the little underdog action. I don't think the Browns are really, like you said, Nick Chubb, he's a beast. Deshaun Watson, he's still trying to get his wits back with him with playing football. And against this defense, I don't think the Browns are going to do anything really much on offense. So I have the Ravens winning 21-13. A little bit close game, but I think the Ravens pull through.
So let's go into our next game, which is going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch this game.
This is going to be my favorite game. Like, this is the game I was talking about earlier that I've been waiting for this week all year, ever since their first matchup. But I'll let you start. Go ahead and start.
Oh yeah, we're thinking of the same game, right? We're thinking of the Falcons and the Saints. Falcons and the Saints, Shane. You can't wait.
No, I thought we were talking about a different game. Please don't tell me you're don't mess with me like that. Come on now.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you. But this game is going to be the Dolphins and the Bills on Saturday night prime time. The Dolphins are 8-5. The Bills are 10-3. The Bills can become the first AFC East team to clinch a playoff berth with a win over the Miami. They wouldn't clinch the division, but they would clinch a playoff spot. So I think the Bills are obviously going to clinch a playoff spot one way or the other. But the big thing here is this is arguably the Bills' biggest game in our lifetime. You might be like, whoa, what about the playoffs? Well, here's why this game is so important for the Bills. If the Bills lose, they drop to 10-4. They no longer have the tiebreaker in their division. So, then Miami's only one game behind them. And then they would fall to the third seed in the AFC, right? So this is a must-win game for the Bills. So they need to have the bye if they want to make the Super Bowl because, as much as I love Josh Allen and the Bills, they have proven time and time again that in the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is going to own them, especially in Arrowhead. So they can't, lose. But here's my first question for you, Shane. How will the Dolphins play in 7+ inches of snow in Buffalo?
You know what, man? Did you see the video of their head coach wearing "I wish it was colder"?
Yeah.
That's the you know what? They're gonna go into Buffalo. I'll give you my prediction right now, and we'll still talk about the game. I think Miami's gonna go in there, kick the Bills' ass in Buffalo. In like obviously Will lives in Buffalo, so he knows how cold Buffalo is at the moment. I think Miami's winning this game. They have the mindset to win this game. The Bills have been a little rocky lately, especially, Josh Allen. He's making a lot of questionable decisions at quarterback, especially since his injury. He's risking his body. I don't know if people saw, but he literally did a flip. He did a double flip trying to jump over a defender. And you're 6'6", dude. You don't need to be doing that. Just slide down. But I think the Dolphins are going to be fine. I think they're going to, honestly, I think Tyreek Hill, he's going to get the ball a lot, running the ball. It's going to be a lot of jet sweep type actions. Same with Jalen Waddle, just because of how cold it's going to be. And if Tyreek Hill, he's the fastest player in the NFL. He gets open, he gets a free lane, gone. touchdown. You're not catching him. Bye-bye. So I think the Dolphins will be perfectly fine, honestly.
Right. And only time will tell. It'll definitely be interesting to see how the Dolphins react because, they played in LA last week against the Chargers. It was 50 degrees. And damn, I wish it was 50 degrees here. I would take that weather all day. And they had like heaters, like they were cold. And they're definitely wishing to be in Miami right now. And I don't really blame them. Who wouldn't want to be in Miami? But regardless, what team has a better passing offense? Like with more. By this I mean like a wide receiver core. The Dolphins or the Bills? And I think if you don't say the Dolphins, you're crazy. Can we both agree that the Dolphins have better receivers than the Bills?
Oh yes, I mean I think overall. The Bills have the better offense right now, just because they've mixed together like over the last couple of years with Josh Allen and Diggs. But I think like talent wise, the Dolphins have them all day. Obviously, the Bills have the better quarterback, but wide receiver core, like you said, it's the Dolphins all day.
So a little quick fun fact about Tua is that he has not won a single game where the temperature is below 50 degrees, and it's going to be like below. It's going to be like around 30 in Buffalo on Saturday, so it'll be pretty cold.
I think they said it's going to be 28 degrees, and then the wind chill is going to be even worse. So it's going to be, and then obviously the snow is going to more than likely going to be a factor. So it's going to be interesting.
So Shane gave his predictions. He thinks the Dolphins are going to upset the Bills, which is a bold take. I think the Bills win this game. It'll be a close game. It'll be a very good game. Give me the Bills 24-20. This will be one of the best games on the slate this week. If you like offense, you'll like this game.
I think the Dolphins will win this game, but I do think it's going to be close though. I'm not going to say like the Dolphins are going to blow out the Bills or anything, especially in Buffalo with the weather conditions. But I think it's going to be 21-20. I think it's going to come down to defense, honestly. But we'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that game. So, all right, on to our next game. Switching over to Sunday's games now. We got the Eagles, who are 12-1, versus the Bears, who are 3-10. Philadelphia's offense against Chicago's defense. It's like we said, the Chicago's offense has been a little bit better, but their defense is been iffy. The Eagles' offense have the advantage in everywhere you say it, every stat line, everything against Chicago's defense. The Eagles became the first team to clinch a playoff berth this season, and it's their fifth playoff trip in the last 6 years after last week win. Will, my question for you here, Will, I have two. My first one, everybody's lately has been talking about Jalen Hurts being the MVP favorite. Do you agree with everybody? And do you think the Bears, obviously after this season, because they're obviously not making the playoffs, do you think the Bears have one of the most brighter futures in the NFL following this season?
100%. They're building around Justin Fields, like which we've said. The Bears, historically have always built around their defense. So it's good to see the Bills. My bad. The Bears finally switching that up. And like I said, their future's bright, and as long as they draft correctly, I don't see why the Bears couldn't be a playoff team in a couple of years. That being said, a rebuild's a slow process. It's not, Rome wasn't built in a day, so it'll take a bit. But in a couple of years, I definitely can see the Bears being good. 100%, no debate.
And do you think is Jalen Hurts your MVP front runner? Like, if the season ended right now, would you vote for Jalen Hurts to be MVP?
Let me think. I can't really think of anyone else that's better than him right now. I'm like all time I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, but right now, better season, I'm taking Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I don't really see how you can't vote for Jalen Hurts as the main MVP guy. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, but the Eagles have a better record. Jalen Hurts is arguably playing better. It's hard to doubt and deny that Jalen Hurts is not the MVP.
No, I can see where you come from. His stats line. That's the crazy thing about it, is that his stats aren't really obviously stats isn't the biggest factor when it comes to MVP. It is a big factor, but It's all about how you perform with your team. And I agree with you. I don't think Jalen Hurts, or I don't think anyone else besides Jalen Hurts really has had that impact this year. Besides, Patrick Mahomes possibly. So it's interesting. It could be at the end of the year. I think it's going to be 50-50 between him and Patrick Mahomes, because those are the only two guys now. I mean, Josh Allen was in the conversation for a bit, but then he had those 3 games where he threw a lot of picks. So personally, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get it, but it's going to be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks to see if he can still perform the way he can. But who do you have winning this game?
I got the Eagles winning 35-17. It'll be a blowout. The Eagles are just better on paper in every aspect over the Bears, and it won't even be a close game.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be 31-10 Eagles.
So with that game, a complete blowout, most likely. I hope so, because it'd be really embarrassing if I got that wrong. But this game should not be a blowout. It's 2 meh teams, but pretty much. They're surprisingly in the playoff run because they're in Shane's division, and their division is really trash. So we got the Atlanta Falcons, who are 5-8, versus the New Orleans Saints, who are 4-9. Rookie third-round quarterback Desmond Ridder will be the Falcons starter for not only this game but the rest of the season due to Marcus Mariota being injured. He has 4 games to prove he can be the franchise guy for the Falcons. Despite both teams having a losing record, as I already established, they are still in the playoff hunt due to their division being so bad. Last time these teams played, completely different quarterbacks. It was Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. Jameis Winston led a comeback. They were down 26-10, and the Saints scored 17 unanswered to upset the Falcons 27-16. So, but like I said, different quarterback now. Andy Dalton's the guy, which is completely questionable if you think he's better than Jameis Winston or not. So my first question for you, Shane, is the Saints are going to have their first losing season since 2016. What went wrong for them this year? Because the Saints were projected by many to be a potential wild card team, and unless they somehow make a miracle comeback, that's not going to happen. So what do you think went wrong for the Saints this year?
I think the main one was injuries, and they have like new coaches, and then injuries. Like, they've been hit badly with the injuries at the quarterback position, and like it's kind of how the Jets are right now. They've had multiple like quarterbacks playing throughout the year, and then like that's how the Saints have been. It's just they haven't been able. Their defense have been pretty good. Their defense is the one upside I'd say so far this year, but it's been injuries, honestly, and obviously that's part of the game. You got to adapt to them, but they've just been hit really bad with injuries so far this year.
Right, and main one I can name off the top of my head is Michael Thomas. Trevor Penning, the rookie right tackle, he didn't start at the start of the year because he got injured during training camp. So, that again, that's a part of football. But I've always said that good teams adapt and good teams figure it out how to win games with injuries. So for the Falcons, do you think Marcus Mariota's career as a starter in the NFL is over?
I mean, I don't think so, because obviously we're going to talk about it later. Baker Mayfield, like, all I got to do, like, we thought his career was over, and like now he's obviously with the Rams and all that, but we'll talk about that later. So personally, I don't think it is. I think he's just not in the right system. I think I don't know if he's a free agent or not at the end of this year, but if he's not, he should definitely look for a trade, because the Falcons is just not the team for him to be on.
So, no, what do you think about Desmond Ridder? Like, do you think he has potentially be the Falcons guy, or play will determine that, or do you not like Desmond Ridder? Or give me your thoughts on him.
I think I haven't really watched much of his game, but from the highlights that I've seen of him from when he went to college, and the few highlights I've seen of him since he came into the NFL, he's not a bad quarterback. I think he just he's a young guy and he needs to work on a couple little things, but I think he'll be fine. I think the more he works around his teammates and the offense, the more he'll mesh with the team. And honestly, I think it will eventually be a perfect fit for the Falcons. The Falcons, like you said, they're mid type of team, but they could end up making the playoffs with a couple different things happening with how bad the division is. So who knows? Only time will tell with the Falcons, honestly.
So who do you think is to win this game between these two NFC South rivals?
I think the Falcons will get it. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be 17-14 Falcons.
I almost have the same exact score. I'm not even going to lie. I got the Saints 17-13. But, no way how you splice it. It'll be a very low-scoring game. And, let's see what team has a shocking not shocking. What team can surprisingly stay in it in the NFC playoff picture?
We'll see. It's definitely going to be interesting. We'll talk more about that division later. But moving on to our next game, this is one of those games where this game matters in their conference. We have the Lions who are 6-7 versus the Jets who are 7-6. QB Zach Wilson, after being benched for 3 games, he will take place of injured Mike White. I don't know if you saw the hit that Mike White took, but it was brutal. I believe the doctor said it is. He's not cleared for contact this week, so Zach Wilson will take over. The last time we saw Zach Wilson, he went 9 for 22 for 77 yards and a 10-3 loss at New England in Week 11, which then obviously White took the position. Detroit, they've been pretty hot lately. They've won 5 of its past 6 games after starting 1-6. Their only loss was to Buffalo on a game-winning field goal on Thanksgiving. The Lions have doubled their win total from last year with Dan Campbell as their head coach. So obviously, like you said, with the Bears, they're a good team in the future. They could be a good team in the future. This Lions team could be a great team in the future. Like you said, with their offensive line, they're building around the right players, and honestly, they're only a couple key positions away from really being a very dangerous team. So my big question for you here, Will, I don't know if you have the playoff picture up, but I do. Which team is under the most pressure, or which team needs this to win this week to secure a playoff spot in the playoff push in their playoff hopes? The Jets they're both teams are 9th in the ranking on the bubble for the playoffs.
Can you repeat that? You cut out.
Oh, my bad. I said which team do you think needs this win the most? Because both teams are 9th on the bubble for the outside looking in for their playoff spot.
Which team needs to win more?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got you're just cutting out a lot. But I would say the team that needs to win more is the Lions because they need they only have 6 wins. Jets have 7. I know that's really obvious. Yes, obviously that's facts. But they're just in a tougher situation, especially with the Seahawks losing. The Seahawks are 7-7 now, and so are the Lions, or if they were to win. So I definitely think the Lions would definitely need this win more. The Jets, they could theoretically lose as long as they win the next couple games down the stretch, but this is a bigger win for the Lions, a bigger game for the Lions, in my opinion. Excuse me.
Who do you think is going to win this game?
See, that's a tough one. See, now these teams are very similar, but they're also similar but flipped. The Jets have a good young defense. The Lions have a good young offense. And the Jets struggle on offense. The Lions struggle on defense. So I'm always going with the mentality of a defense wins championships. So give me the Jets 20-17. But one thing I will say, Shane, about the Lions is that Jared Goff has bought himself more time as the Lions franchise quarterback. Going into this year, he was going to most definitely they were drafting a quarterback. They were going to move on from Jared Goff. But he's been playing really well this year, so I really don't see why the Lions would move on from Jared Goff.
No, I definitely agree. And he's not that old. I think he's only like 29, 28 maybe. I'm not 100% sure. And they could definitely build around him. And like all he needs to do is be a game management type of quarterback. Because this Lions offense is really explosive. If they build around Jared Goff, the offensive line, and their defense is really their only like questionable like point. They need to draft really well for their defense because they're pretty inconsistent when it comes to playing this year. So I agree. I like the Lions in this game. I don't like how obviously Zach Wilson, he made some comments about the Jets defense, and I just don't think the Jets are really in a good spot with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. So I have the Lions winning this game 24-14.
Well, Zach Wilson has one more shot to prove that he can be the Jets guys, and this is it. This is your last shot, so don't blow it.
Yeah.
The next game I got, which is this will be an interesting game because it seems like on paper it'd be a blowout, but it won't be. We got the Dallas Cowboys who are 10-3 versus the Jacksonville Jaguars who are 5-8. The Cowboys survived against the Houston Texans. Does that justify calling the Cowboys overrated? I wouldn't say so. I know every team has bad weeks in football. That's football. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to, blow out every single team that you should blow out. So I don't think the Cowboys are justifiably could be called overrated. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, I don't think the Cowboys are overrated, but I think they're good. I just don't think they're going to succeed in the playoffs. That's how I look at the Cowboys right now. They're a really good regular season team, but I think when playoffs come around, they might choke. Just because of how I've watched them play this year, I think they'll choke when playoffs come around.
The Jaguars looked great against Tennessee last week, and they have a real shot to win the AFC South, which is something that I would not think I'd be saying a couple weeks ago. But the Jaguars are on the up and the Titans are on the down. So let's see if the Jaguars can somehow pull a miracle season out and win the AFC South. That'd be awesome. And Doug Peterson's first year as head coach of the Jaguars. And if that does happen, you'd really have to put him in the coach of the year conversation. They go from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson. So let's see. I'm kind of already said this. I kind of implied it with Doug Peterson being such a good coach, but the future looks bright for the Jaguars, and Trevor Lawrence has silenced the haters after his mediocre start to the season. The Cowboys might have 2 1,000-yard rushers this year, which is just awesome. They have a really what are they going to do with their running back duo? They have Zeke and Tony Pollard. So what do you think the Cowboys should do with their running back duo? Do you think they should trade one, or do you think they should keep both as long as they can, or what do you think?
I think they should trade Ezekiel Elliott. He's not in his prime anymore. I hate to break it to everybody who thinks he still eats. Pollard is such to me. Watching the film, obviously, me being a running back, Tony Pollard. I'd rather have Tony Pollard as my running back than Ezekiel Elliott, just because he's more explosive and he's such a he's a better fit for that offense. With Dak Prescott being the quarterback. The wide receivers that they got, the offensive line that they got, I think Tony Pollard would be the much better long-term, better decision for the Cowboys to keep around than Ezekiel Elliott.
I just don't think no team wants Zeke's contract. That's the issue.
Yeah, no, that's definitely we've seen it before where teams want to trade away players with big contracts, and no one will take them, not because they're not good, but because of their contract. They can't afford it, and they don't want to pay it. So that's going to be a situation. That's going to be a tricky situation in the future for the Cowboys for sure. And who knows? Maybe they'll keep Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think they should. I don't think it'd be the smart idea because I think any team with Tony Pollard and his abilities would be very dangerous offensively, especially if he's put into a really good system that fits for him. I don't know. We'll see.
Would you agree that this is a trap game for the Cowboys? Do you think the Jaguars have a real chance to upset Dallas here?
Honestly, I do, and honestly, I'm picking the Jaguars here. I think it's going to be a close game, But like you said, Trevor Lawrence, he silenced the haters. Doug Peterson, he's been coaching the team very well. I have the Jaguars winning 21-20.
Wow. I think it'll be a close game, but I don't think the Jaguars are going to win this game. But I do think they can, but I don't think they will because I just think the Cowboys are just better. I think the Cowboys are going to win 30-27, but this will definitely be a close game for you know, despite the records, it will be a close game.
No, I definitely agree. It's definitely a game you should probably tune in and watch for sure. Moving on to our next game, we have two teams who are kind of mid, but one team does have possibilities of making it to the playoffs with a lot of different things happening because of the division. We have the Steelers who are 5-8 versus the Panthers who are also 5-8. Sam Darnold is 2-0 since taking over as Carolina's starting quarterback, and they're now in control of their own, destiny when the playoffs come around. 4 games remaining. If the Panthers win out beginning Sunday at home against the Steelers, they could win the NFC South. With the Panthers running the ball so effectively, Sam Darnold, all he has to do is be a game management type of quarterback and not turn the ball over. Mike Tomlin, this is kind of something like it's kind of like the big story with the Steelers so far this year with how they've been performing. Mike Tomlin's in his 16 years as a head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he has not had a losing season. I believe his worst season was 8-8 or 8-8 or 9-8. And like with a month left of the season, does the Steelers need to win out for that to not happen. And there's not really much to discuss about this game. Like I said, they're kind of both mid teams. But my question for you here, Will, do you see the Panthers making a late playoff push, considering the division that they're in with how bad, obviously, the records are with the Saints, the Falcons, and even the Bucks as well?
I mean, it's possible. I can't really. It'll be tough because at the end of the day, like the Bucks are in a slump, but like they still have Tom Brady, so it's really hard to count Tom Brady out. So it's almost like an X factor. It's like it's ace up the sleeve. So it'll be hard, but the Panthers did beat the Buccaneers before. So and they do play each other again. So that game might be determined who wins the NFC South. And
They
who would
blew
have
them
thought
out.
that with the Falcons, yeah, with all the Panthers issues they've had, like with having the Baker Mayfield fiasco, releasing him, to Matt Rule getting fired, he's just a bad coach. To their interim head coach might be their long term head coach. And PJ Walker and Sam Darnold being the starting quarterback, and it looks like Sam Darnold's got the job for at least the rest of the year. Trading away Robbie Anderson, almost trading away Brian Burns, trading away Christian McCaffrey, like they weren't supposed to be good, but the future low key looks bright for Carolina. They have 5 wins. They could win up to 9 games. They could make the playoffs. They have a bunch of draft picks they got from. They got some draft picks from Robbie Anderson. They got some draft picks they got from Christian McCaffrey. So this team might be good in a couple of years. And Steve Wilkes is a good coach. They rely on the run game. Deonta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard are 2 very underrated running backs. So we'll have to see. Their defense is also very underrated, but Brian Burns and Shaq Thompson. So J.C. Horn's a very underrated corner, but does not get enough love because of Pat Surtain and Sauce Gardner. But low key, the Panthers might be good in a couple of years. Would you agree?
Oh no, I definitely agree. And like you said, they were not supposed to have a playoff push. But considering how I wouldn't even say bad, but how disappointing the division has been overall with each team so far this year, it is a possibility, which is crazy to say. If you asked me later in the year or earlier in the year, I should say, if it could come down to like the Panthers and the Bucks and their late season game, see who wins the division, I wouldn't. I'd call you crazy, honestly. But it's definitely a possibility. But with the Steelers, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. the 13th in the rankings when it comes to the playoff picture. I don't see them making the playoffs at all, but it'll be hopefully they win out though, because that's pretty impressive for Mike Tomlin to not having a losing record, being the Steelers head coach. Obviously, he had Big Ben for all those years, but he was in the AFC with the Ravens, the Bengals. Obviously, the Browns have always been terrible, but that's wouldn't you say that's a pretty impressive feat going 15 straight years, 16 if they went out this year.
No, yeah, 100%. Going against and not even just in their division. Philip Rivers from the Chargers, Peyton Manning on the Colts and the Broncos. Andrew Luck for the Colts, Tom Brady, obviously, you can't forget about him. Tom Brady. Like you said, the Ravens. Joe Flacco and their elite defense. The Bengals. They weren't too bad with Andy Dalton and AJ Green. So.
And even like the lesser type of quarter, like Alex Smith, we forget, Alex Smith was pretty good when he was on the Chiefs, and then even with Patrick Mahomes late in the obviously late in the streak, but it's definitely an impressive. I don't think Bill Belichick. I think Bill Belichick's had a losing record, obviously ever since he became a head coach of the Patriots, but it's definitely an impressive feat. So it'll be interesting. But who do you have winning this game?
It'll be close, and I don't think Kenny Pickett's in the play, so that means Mitch Trubisky will start, and he's terrible. He's just terrible. And if it was Kenny Pickett, I could say I got the Steelers winning this game, but with Mitch Trubisky, with the Falcons are not the Falcons. I apologize. The Panthers are a little bit on a roll. I like what they've been doing offensively. I like how they play old school, very run heavy. I think that's very unique, and not a lot of teams do that. So give me the Panthers 17-10. What about you, Shane?
I agree. I think it's going to be low scoring. I have the Panthers winning this game 20-10, with just a little bit of a difference in the score. But I definitely have the Panthers winning this game 20-10 over the Steelers.
So let's go into my next game, which is two teams that have the same exact record that are, again, fighting for a playoff spot. We got the Tennessee Titans, who are 7-6, and the LA Chargers, who are also 7-6. So the Titans still lead the AFC South. They're very fortunate that the AFC South is such a bad division. And they're getting, not I don't want to say lucky, but they're just, again, very thankful. But you can definitely tell that the Titans are not their dynasty. They're not a dynasty, but I guess their dominance in the AFC South. From making the AFC title game a couple years ago to winning back-to-back division titles, they're on the downward trend. It's kind of hard to deny that. So flipping the script to the Chargers, they've had injuries, to Mike Williams, to Keenan Allen, to just receivers. The only two, their offensive line, their defense, they're just really injured. But despite that, Justin Herbert's been playing great. Reminds me a lot of Philip Rivers, honestly. How he always dealt with a very shitty situation and always put up great personal stats. But like I said, despite having injuries at wide receiver, the Chargers still have a top 3 passing offense, which is just insane. Derrick Henry had 2 fumbles last week. Is that a cause of concern? I don't think so. He's still Derrick Henry. Players fumble. It's very unlikely you have a running back that never fumbles the ball. So that's just that. The Chargers defense, despite being banged up, no Joey Bosa, no J.C. Jackson, I believe no Derwin James, no Bryce Callahan. They're just injured. And they played great against the Dolphins. Who would have thought that? They locked them up. So let's see if they can continue that trend against the Titans, who obviously their offense is a lot worse than the Dolphins. The Chargers' run defense has been a major weakness for a long time for the Chargers. That's been their Achilles heel for at least the last couple of years, And it's not looking good that they're playing Derrick Henry, So let's see if the Chargers can finally learn how to stop the run against the elite running back, but it's not looking good. My first question for you, Shane, is who needs this win more to stay afloat in the AFC playoff hunt, the Chargers or the Titans?
I mean, it's kind of – they both need to stay in, a lot just because, they have different situations, Chargers are the first seed outside looking in of the playoff picture. They're 8th in front of the Jets, but the Titans, they're first in the AFC South, but we got teams like the Jaguars that are getting hot. And then like the rest of the division isn't really
a factor.
A factor. So and like you said, the Titans are kind of on a downfall. So I mean, right now, I think it's the Chargers. But let's say the Chargers win this game, and the Titans continue to struggle a little bit, and the Jaguars, they beat the Cowboys this week, and they go on to win a couple more. This could be one of those games where you didn't think it was that important, but it could be a factor when week 17, 18 come around. So right now, I'm going to say the Chargers just because they're on the outside looking in. Obviously, they have. I think they faced off against the Chiefs one more time this year. So I think the Chargers still have a couple hard games ahead of them before the season ends. So I think the Chargers. I think this is a must-win for the Chargers to have at least a little bit of hope. And then obviously it'll come to an effect with the next couple of games we talk about when talking about the AFC.
Yeah, right. And you already answered this. Do you think the Titans' reign of dominance in the divisions at the end? Do you think it's the beginning of the end?
What was that? I'm sorry, you kind of cut out a little bit.
So do you think the Titans' dominance in the AFC South is going to be ending soon?
I mean, it could. Like we said, their division isn't that good right now. I mean, if they change their quarterback, who knows? If they get a good quarterback in the free agency, as long as they still have Derrick Henry, I mean, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, just because their defense is pretty solid right now. And Derrick Henry, he's still in his prime, but he's not like 2019 Derrick Henry or 2020 Derrick Henry. So we'll see if Derrick Henry starts to slow down. Then yes, I think they'll eventually become one of those bad teams once again. But as long as they have Derrick Henry and he's producing well, I think they'll be a solid team, but they won't be as dominant as they was 2019, 2020. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting.
My pick to win this game, Shane, is the Chargers, 30-20. What about you?
I agree. I think it's going to be closer just because the Chargers and their injuries and their struggle against the run, which obviously that is probably one of the biggest factors in football, in my opinion, is how you play against the run, because you can obviously set up play action in the pass and all that. So I think the Chargers are going to win 24-23. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I do think the Chargers pull a win out. So it'll be interesting. But from an interesting game to a very interesting, how do you say it? Future, I should say. We have the Chiefs, who are 10-3, versus the Texans, who are 1-11-1. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, Will. Oh boy. The Chiefs are in a perfect spot to where they can clinch their division this week with a win. Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City's quarterback, versus the Houston's pass defense. Once again, oh boy. Oh boy. Patrick Mahomes leads the NFL with 4,160 yards for passing, and he has 33 touchdowns. The Texans, surprisingly, has been pretty decent against allowing the pass lately. But overall-wise, the best overall defense versus the worst overall defense, Will, once again. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. There's really not much to talk about in this game besides, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, could be considered MVP favorite. And then, obviously, the Chiefs, they win this week and they clinch their division. But how lopsided do you think this game can be, Will?
Well, I'm not watching this game. I mean, they could have.
You know what? This is what I think. I'm sorry to cut you off, but me and Will have this little joke about how Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, they just they mess around the first 2-3 quarters of the game, and then they'll actually start playing. So, Will, I generally think the Patrick Mahomes is just going to play and toy around with the Texans' defense for like the first 2 quarters, or maybe even 3 quarters.
It's every week. It's every week. I mean, it doesn't fail. Like last week, like he literally what was it with the Broncos? He literally flung it. Like he didn't even throw it normally. He just flung it, and they got a touchdown. Like what the hell? Like I mean, it doesn't seem like what's he gonna do this week? Throw it with his left hand or whatever?
Yes, he's gonna throw. He's gonna throw a 50-yard bomb to Kelsey, and he's gonna catch it with one hand and start running backwards into the end zone.
Or he's gonna do something like he's gonna do like a basketball move, like go like crossover, like crossover behind the back, step back. Like granted, I'm only 20. We're both young, but like I have never seen a quarterback. Even like watching highlights of old quarterbacks like Joe Montana, Steve Young, Dan Marino, all those guys. I've never seen a quarterback, Jim Kelly. I've never seen a quarterback do what he does. Never, ever.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's just it's not fair, and like the closest thing I can tell to like being this magical a quarterback was honestly Michael Vick. Just because like his how explosive he was, because he could throw the ball and he could run it, obviously. But like even that, he didn't have like the tools around him to have that confidence to be like that magical. And Patrick Mahomes, he just like that one the one picture of him flinging the ball sideways in the Super Bowl. Like that picture is gonna be like worth like him sidearm in the middle of the air by the sidelines trying to fling it to Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl. Like that shot is gonna be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars when Patrick Mahomes retires, because like who else is gonna do that? Like, please name me a quarterback that will ever do something like that again. Please let me know.
It's not possible. I mean, I know when you think of Tom Brady as the greatest, it's just like two completely different play styles too, which is crazy. And it's just I'm so, I don't want to say blessed. That's weird, but like I'm so gifted and thankful to see that I can watch football and witness not only the greatest quarterback of all time with Tom Brady, but the next one in Patrick Mahomes.
Probably the most talented. I honestly I don't think Patrick Mahomes is gonna take over the GOAT spot, but he will be in the conversation if he keeps up what he's been doing over the past 3-4 years, especially with how dominant he's been in the regular season and playoffs. We kind of forget he's like so great in the regular season. Like you should see he's only lost twice, 3 times. He's only has 3 losses in the playoffs so far, which he is young.
Tom Brady.
And 2 of them, 2 of them are Tom Brady. 2 of them to the GOAT, and 1 of them was Joe Burrow. But like you said, I'm honestly like, that's crazy that like growing up we saw the second half career of like Peyton Manning, the midway, we got to call it the midway version of Tom Brady, his mid career, because he's been here in the NFL longer than we've been alive, which is absolutely insane and kind of ridiculous to even think about. Like, wow, I wasn't even a thing when Tom Brady was, throwing touchdowns. But like just to have like 2 different generations of quarterback and 2 different play styles dominating the NFL, which like obviously defenses have changed. So like even more dominant defensive players, like Tom Brady was, going against like destroying Ray Lewis and his defense. And now, we have Patrick Mahomes over here destroying like Aaron Donald and his defense. So it's crazy and honestly like pretty awesome to watch. So, but do I even have to ask, who do you think is going to win this game? Will, like, come on, let's be serious.
It's the Chiefs. Let's be honest.
It's gonna be like a 30 to 10 game or something like that, or maybe Patrick Mahomes tries the entire game and they score 50 points. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah,
before I forget, what I was going to say was like all the other games could like not be on. Like this could be the only game I could watch, and I wouldn't watch it because it's just going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a close game. So
I'd only watch it just to see like if Patrick Mahomes could throw with his left hand for an entire half and like still throw like 4 touchdowns, 400 yards. Travis Kelsey, catch with his left like hand and 3 fingers and just stiff arm our freaking corner that we don't even know you know. Oh, but with the Texans, I forgot to mention this, but David Mills will start. He was benched for I believe 2 games, but he will be starting this game. So I guess that's some
that switches up everything. Now I got the Texans with it. That the whole
yeah, little joke there, but yeah, Chiefs are gonna destroy the Texans, and if the Texans win, honestly, I'll completely shave. Like I got a haircut. I don't know if Will you've seen it, but like I have a little bit of hair. Obviously, you know how short I get my haircut, but if the Texans wins, I'll let my hair grow out, and then I'll go close to being bald if the Texans somehow beat the Chiefs in this game.
So yeah, more of the story is will be a blowout. But
yeah,
next game we got another. This I'm going to call this one the toilet bowl because we got the Cardinals who are 4-9 versus the Broncos who are 3-10. With Kyler Murray out for the season with his torn ACL, and Russell Wilson most likely not playing due to a concussion. This will be the battle of the backups. Brett Rypien versus Colt McCoy. Yay! Both coaches are on the hot seat chain. Cliff Kingsbury for the Cardinals and Nathaniel Hackett for the Broncos. Which coach do you think is more likely to be fired this offseason, Cliff Kingsbury or Nathaniel Hackett?
I think Linsbury's he's just been very bad so far. And then obviously, like both teams, both teams, honestly, more so the Broncos than the Cardinals. They've been, they were expected to be really good, especially the Broncos with Russell Wilson. So, I mean, honestly, I think both coaches are going to be fired at the end of the year, which is honestly very disappointing because like these are 2 teams that like we kind of expected to be good, and they just haven't. And it's because of poor coaching. I'm not going to lie. Poor coaching, with the Broncos, Russell Wilson, they were supposed to be probably top 5 team in the NFL, and they're top 5 worst. So it's a really disappointing thing to see like stuff like this happen.
Yeah, actually, I said that. I said both teams were expected to make deep runs in the playoffs, and that obviously did not pan out. Cardinals won 12 games last year, 11. They were obviously a playoff team.
It's crazy because they were, what were they? I think they were like 12-1. Like the first 13 games last year, and then since then they've been 5-11 or something like that. So it's honestly really crazy. Or 5-14, I think it was. Ever since they started out 12-1, so like that's really bad. Like you got it, like that's really bad. So like something must have happened. But that's like a disappointing like flip of the script. You know what I mean? So. It's honestly pretty embarrassing.
Right. Now, one good thing about the Broncos is that they had a breakout from Jerry Jeudy. He first receiver taken. He was taken before Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, which in hindsight was that stupid? Yes, but at the time it was a good draft pick. He had the best game of the season and arguably the best game of his career. Do you think Jerry Jeudy is finally on the verge of breaking out and becoming the elite receiver he was supposed to be? Yes or no?
I mean, personally, I never really liked him. I thought he was pretty overrated. So, to regular NFL fans, or not to regular NFL fans, but to actual like diehard NFL fans, I think he will. But like to me, I don't think he's really even that great. I don't really. I like his style of play. I just don't think he's very good. Will he be a good wide receiver? Yes, but I don't think he'll be elite. Like I definitely think he was overhyped coming from college into the NFL. But who knows? Maybe he'll. Only time will tell when it comes to him. So it's kind of a flip of the coin. Honestly, if he continues what he's been doing, then yes, I think he'll eventually become an elite wide receiver. But my personal opinion, I don't think he'll be an elite lead. Like I don't think he'll be in the same conversation as Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs. Who else? I mean, you can't really Devontae Adams. Like he won't be in that like conversation, but he'll definitely be like a very good number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, and my biggest thing, real quick, a little off topic, is in fantasy. I drafted Jerry Jeudy. I traded him. I don't have him anymore. But, I was very high in the beginning of the season on Jerry Jeudy. I was like, this is his year. And not to be fair, everyone was with the whole Broncos. It wasn't just me. But in particular, I drafted Jerry Jeudy over Jalen Waddle and AJ Brown, and that's just very unfortunate. At the time, it looked like a great draft pick, but moral of the story is that Jerry Jeudy has the potential, but let's see if he can unlock it. I think he'll be a very solid wide receiver, one, but a great wide receiver two. Kind of like Corey Davis was for the Titans. He kind of like was mediocre, but then when AJ Brown came, he became the guy. Then Corey Davis got better. So I think that's what Jerry Jeudy will be like. But his route running is really insane. So let's finally see if he can put it all together. But my last question for you, Shane, is how much do you think each offense will change, like the play calling, without Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson? Like, do you think they're going to run the ball more, or do you think they're still going to be pass heavy with the Cardinals with like DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown, or do you think again they're going to run it with James Conner? Or
I think it's going to be very run dominant just because of how I wouldn't even say how similar both quarterbacks are, but their like play style. Obviously, we've seen what Russell Wilson can do, like throwing on the run, stuff like that, and Kyler Murray being very dangerous and like read options and RPOs. So I think it's going to be a very defensive oriented type teams and game, honestly. And then obviously, like they're going to run the ball more. So I think it's going to be like I think this game, it's going to be kind of an old style type of football game. You know what I mean? Very, very 80s like. Very 80s like. Run.
One thing about the Broncos that is good, and going into our predictions, is their defense has been good all year, minus last week against the Chiefs. But I think the Broncos will win this game. Their defense has been great all year, and that's one positive about this terrible season for them. Is that one thing is Pat Surtain has really emerged as a top 5 cornerback in the league. So I think their defense will carry them this year. The Broncos are going to win 17-13. Like I said, their defense is great, and I think that's all they really need in this game against a backup quarterback. 17-13 Denver. What about you, Shane?
I agree. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that, but relatively same score. I think it's going to be 17-16 Broncos. But on to our next game, which long term, this is going to be a very interesting and very important game for, especially for one of the teams, but definitely both the teams. It's the Patriots who are 7-6 versus the Raiders who are 5-8. Given that the first two teams just outside of the postseason are the Chargers and the Jets, and they both have the same records, Sunday's game in Las Vegas will be very critical, especially considering the Patriots' final games, their last 3 games of the season, because all of their teams that they face, if the playoffs started right now, all 3 of their teams that they face would be in the playoffs. Excuse me. After beating Cardinals 27-13 on Monday night, the Patriots are now 7-6 and are in the final position for the playoffs. They're in seed number 7. With the Raiders, they could get 2 major receiving options back in tight end Darren Waller, who is out with a hamstring, and then wide receiver Hunter Renfrow, who is out with an oblique type injury, who both returned to practice Wednesday. But Josh McDaniels said he doesn't know if they would be active off of the injured reserve to face the Patriots. So I believe that's going to be a game time decision. My question here for you, Will, is are the Patriots, like I've asked this question about the other teams in different games, but this is overall like just the Patriots. Do you think the Patriots are the most pressured to win out and to stay in the playoffs than any team in the NFL right now? Like going towards the end of the season, considering their schedule?
Oh, absolutely not. Comparing to the other teams, the Chargers and the Jets who have their same record, the Patriots probably have the least amount of pressure out of them all. The Patriots have nothing to prove realistically. They have the greatest coach of all time, or one of the greatest. They have a rookie quarterback. They have a defensive coordinator as their offensive coordinator. And coming into the season, many people projected the Patriots to be a 7-8 win team. Most people did not project the Patriots to make the playoffs again, mainly because they didn't really get better. Look at the Jets. They had one of the best drafts in this year. The Dolphins, they got Tyreek Hill. And a better offensive coach. The Bills, they're the Bills. They got Von Miller. The Raiders got Devontae Adams. The Chargers. So out of all of the teams in the AFC, the Patriots basically made one key move, and they got Devontae Parker, who is a solid receiver, but nothing obviously like Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill. So the Patriots didn't really improve a lot. So it's kind of hard to repeat a 10-win season without improving a lot. It's just difficult. So the big thing about the Patriots is their defense, which is, not surprised. That's how Bill Belichick runs his teams. Matt Judon's having a very under-the-radar season. He arguably could be the defensive player of the year. And I know we didn't talk about them, but, just like Nick Bosa is or Micah Parsons for the Niners and the Cowboys, I think those three are, the top three in defensive player of the year, depending on who you ask. Maybe Max Crosby for the Raiders as well. But out of all the teams, I don't think the Patriots have any pressure because they weren't projected to be in their spot this year, If anything, the Raiders were more disappointing this year than the Patriots,
No, I definitely agree. I think Justin, I think Bill Belichick, I wouldn't say he's under pressure, but I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on his team just because of that reasoning. They weren't really supposed to be in this spot. And now that Bill Belichick going into the playoffs, when he wasn't supposed to, that could be very dangerous because who's to say Patriots get into the playoffs, right? And what team in the playoffs outside of Andy Reid, which team has just as much playoff experience, from a coaching standpoint? Nobody. Bill Belichick.
Nobody. No, right.
Not even Andy Reid has as much playoff experience as I would say as Bill Belichick. So who knows? Maybe if the Patriots stay in the playoff hunt, they get to the playoffs and they get hot. Patriots could go deep into the playoffs, but with time will tell. Obviously, they'd have to get extremely lucky for that to happen, in my opinion. But overall, I can see where you come from when you don't think the Patriots are the most pressured to stay in the playoff hunt. But
the Raiders, but let me talk about the Raiders. So the Raiders have had a very disappointing season. The Raiders before this season blew a 10-point lead of, I believe, twice. And this year they've done it 5 times. They did it with the Cardinals, the Chiefs, the Jaguars, the Rams, and I believe another team. I'm just blanking. So the Raiders, I've never seen this happen before. I was also high on the Raiders too. I thought the Raiders were going to be second in the division because on paper they look great. They have a top 5 tight end. They have a top 3 receiver. They have a very underrated running back, a very solid quarterback. They have a great pass rushing duo with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. So the Raiders, and also it's like the master versus the student. With Belichick and McDaniels was his offensive coordinator for a long, long time. So my question for you, Shane, before we go into our picks is kind of like what I said with the Saints. What went wrong with the Raiders this year? Do you think it's coaching? Do you think it's Derek Carr? Do you think it's the defense?
I mean, from how, if you looked at how their games went, you would say their defense, just because of how many games they've just blew. But
but real quick, I know they should not have lost that game to the Rams last week. But to be fair, it's 16-10 inside 2 minutes. And AJ Cole pins them inside the 5. Your defense needs to close that game out inside the 5. Come on, you can't let someone drive 95 plus yards. That's unacceptable.
Especially, and we're going to talk more about that game a little bit with Baker Mayfield and all that with the Monday night game they have. But with Baker Mayfield, who by the way, was less than 48 hours with their team studying you had 48 hours to study that team for that playbook under Sean McVay, and you let Baker Mayfield come from behind twice, score 2 touchdowns, helped his team score 2 touchdowns within 2 minutes, 3 minutes
against 3 or 4 minutes, yeah,
against your defense. Baker Mayfield, really rated.
Yeah, and right.
Really.
And I know Josh McDaniels isn't the greatest coach, but the defense was terrible.
Come on now. That's disgusting. That's literally I can't think of another word to describe how awful that sounds. That's disgusting. How do you let that happen?
My pick to win. I know I've been picking the Raiders a lot, but Belichick knows how to beat Josh McDaniels. The Raiders might have the better roster, but the Patriots have a far better defense and coaching. And, I'm taking the team with the better coaching and defense and the team with the better offense any day of the week. So give me the Patriots winning this game 20-17. What about you, Shane?
I agree. I think it's going to be relatively similar score. I think it's going to be 20-14 Patriots. You know, the Raiders are probably going to blow this game. They'll probably be up like 10-14 or 10-7 or 14-7 or something crazy like that. And
14-0.
yeah, and they'll just let them score 21 points in 3 minutes. Who knows what with this week. It's kind of like how Patrick Mahomes kind of doesn't try and then tries. It's kind of the opposite with the Raiders. They try for 3 quarters and then they just let their opposing teams off.
They stop trying and they still lose. Unlike the Chiefs, who they don't try and they win.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, but yeah. So
so let's go into the Sunday night game, which I can't wait as a Giants fan. This is the biggest game in a long time. It's the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders.
Do you want to do my game before? Because I still have 2 more games. I have.
Okay.
Do you want to do
your other game?
Okay.
No,
All right.
You do.
Okay, so on to our next game, which is this one also has some pretty interesting playoff implications. We have the Bengals, who are red hot, who are 9-4 right now against the Buccaneers, who are 6-7. Rough, tough, sadness for Shane. While Tom Brady leads the league in completions and is 4th in passing yards behind Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow, a talented Buccaneers offense still is struggling this far into the season to get into the end zone and score. The Bengals, however, 9-4, have won 5 straight and 7 out of 8 overall to match Baltimore Ravens with the best record in their division, the AFC North. While there may be no quick fix for Tampa's scoring struggles, the Bucs can kind of still feel happy about knowing they still have a playoff berth within reach, despite having a losing record. They're first place in the very weak NFC South, which we've talked about multiple times so far. 1 game ahead of the Carolina Panthers and Atlanta Falcons with 4 games left. So my question to you, I have 2 questions for you, Will. The first one we'll talk about. What do you think is the reason for the Buccaneers' struggles? Not even offensively, but team-wise. Why do you think they're 6-7 and just struggling just to stay in first place in their very weak division?
I think it's mainly the offensive line and coach. There's a lot. Offensive line injuries, especially with Tom Brady. He's not mobile. So, I mean, he need to have an offensive line, and they've been injured. Coaching, Bruce Arians is a completely different coach from Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is a more defensive coach, and obviously Bruce Arians is a more offensive coach. So that would probably explain why the Buccaneers' defense is better than their offense. And, Tom Brady's regression. I never thought those words would ever leave my mouth, but it's hard. It's hard to deny the facts. Tom Brady's obviously still the GOAT. He will always be the GOAT, but it's hard to not see his dip in production. Even from the fact that they're 6-7 and they're most likely going to finish around 9 wins at max. So, Tom Brady, is he playing bad? No. Is he playing great? No. Like, he's just playing mediocre, average, And I really feel like that's the reason why he's been struggling. Last year, he had one of the best seasons of his career, arguably should have won MVP. To this year, he's just a completely different quarterback. So, and if you want to say the whole thing with Giselle and the whole spousal issues, maybe he's not all mentally there for football. Who knows? But I did just get a report that Tom Brady most likely, like 99%, he's retiring after this season. So if this is the final goodbye for Tom Brady, then thank you. Thank you for having me witness your awesome play for years. And, from you coming back from 20-3 to the Super Bowl, from you taking Tampa Bay to their first Super Bowl in like 20 years. Thank you, because we're never going to see another quarterback play like Tom Brady. And it's truly a gift to see him play. It's just kind of sad, actually, that he's finally retiring.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't see with obviously like Tampa Bay being my team. I watch them a lot more than other teams, and I generally agree with the offensive line standpoint. Tom Brady, like he's only got, I believe, 18 touchdowns, but like we said, like they struggle to score points inside of the red zone, and I don't think it's Tom Brady's fault. I generally don't think Tom Brady is like really a struggle or like a factor of why they're losing and why they're not producing. I think it's because, like you said, Todd Bowles is not I don't think he's a great coach, honestly. I think he's a very bad coach. I think he's a better coordinator than coach. And I honestly don't think they're letting Tom Brady take over the offense and running the plays that Tom Brady wants to run, because obviously he did that the first couple of years when he first started at Tampa Bay, and obviously you saw what happened. They were really good. They were one of the best offenses in the NFL. And then obviously injuries, and then like I basically said, the offensive line and the coaching. But my second question: do you think the Bengals are the hottest team in the NFL and the most dangerous going into the playoffs?
100%. I think people are writing them off because they just think the Bills and the Bills and the Chiefs are better, but the Bengals are really good. I think they're maybe a top 5 team in the NFL. Joe Burrow is a beast. Jamar Chase, they have the best receiving core arguably in football. They have a very good running back, a great quarterback. Their one weakness was the offensive line, and the offensive line's been slowly getting better as the year has gone on. Beginning of the year, they were kind of, the same old. Their offensive line was bad, but like I said, they've just been slowly getting better. And what can you really say? Like, that was their one weakness last year, and they fixed it, and now they're 9-4, and they're in a late season collapse. They will finish with a better record than they did last year when they were 10-7. So the Bengals look great. They have another chance to make a deep playoff run. So let's see if they can put all the pieces together and not just make the Super Bowl, but win their first Super Bowl in franchise history.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win this game?
I think the Bengals are going to win. I'm going to think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be Bengals 30-21. Or 30-17, I apologize. Or 31-21. Apologize, I couldn't think about what I wanted to say. But yeah, 31-21. I just think the Bengals are just all around on paper better than the Buccaneers at every aspect. So give me the Bengals. But what about you, Shane?
No, I agree. Unfortunately, I want the Bucs. I want them to fix their struggles. I want Tom Brady to fix this offense. But they've been disappointing me all year. So I'm going to take the Bengals on this one. I think the Bengals are going to win. I don't know, 24-17. I just don't see this offense getting going for the Buccaneers, and it's very unfortunate. Just because, like you said, Tom Brady, he's been, giving us greatness for 22, 23 years. So it's very, very, like you said earlier, very sad, very disappointing to experience to see, because we've never seen Tom Brady struggle this much, and it's taken 23 years for us to witness it. So hopefully he finishes the season on a good note, and hopefully they make the playoffs, and hopefully he has a good run in the playoffs if it is his final year.
Right. So let's get into the game that I jumped the gun on. I forgot that you had that, and I apologize. But let's go over the game of the week, in my opinion. I can't wait for this game. As a Giants fan, it's been a long time to see us playing a primetime game this late into the year. We got the New York Giants, who are 7-5-1, versus the Washington Commanders, who are 7-5-1 as well. Despite starting 6-1, the Giants have been 1-4-1 since then, and need to win if they want to make the playoffs. Now, since the Seahawks lost, either of these teams could lose, and they would still be in the playoff hunt. But the craziest thing is, since these teams tied, it basically helped everybody. They helped each other, really, because the Giants can finish 8-1, and if the Seahawks finish 8-9, they'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? So, or whatnot. Like, as long as they have the same wins as the teams that, like, if they have 9 wins, the Giants, 9-7-1 is better than 9-8. Or 8. So it's interesting that the tie helped both of these teams out in the long run. So, obviously, this is the biggest game of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley's career. If Daniel Jones wants to prove that the Giants need him as their franchise guy, this is it right here. Like, win this game on the road. You're 0-9 in primetime. Win your first primetime game and prove everybody wrong. Now, here's a question. This is not about the game. This is about the NFL in general. I know a lot of people were complaining after these two teams tied that ties should be removed. They should not be allowed in any professional sport. But in the other football, in soccer, they have ties all the time, and people are completely fine with a tie. So, do you think ties should be removed in the NFL, or do you think ties are fine for the sport of American football?
I think ties are the dumbest thing in professional sports. It's like, what's the point of the tie? Like, what's the point? Like you got to think of it like, what's the point of competing if nobody wins? Like,
That's a good question.
How stupid that sounds. Like, we're gonna go, we'll use this game as an example. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, they trained all off season, especially Saquon, coming back from injury, trained all season, or trained all off season, I should say. Has played phenomenal, basically carrying the offense on his back with the help of Daniel Jones for the Giants. They're 7-5-1, or 7-5-1. Both teams are 7-5-1. And let's say they lose the next couple of games and they're the last team outside of the playoffs. What if they didn't have that tie? And it could go either way for the Washington Commanders as well. They didn't have that tie, and obviously the tie helped both teams and everybody else for that matter. But what if the Giants did win that game instead of ending in a tie? What if it went to a second overtime and Daniel Jones threw a touchdown pass and won the game? Like, why is there a tie in the NFL? Like, these players train, and because I've had games where I've played in that's ended in a tie, and it frustrates me so much that it ends in a tie. Like, why have a tie in professional football or in sports in general? Like, why do you train so hard? You train so hard to win or lose, not to end in a tie. Like, it's like the way I think of a tie is kind of like giving someone a trophy for participating. Like, it's stupid. Like, why? Like, that's dumb. Like, why? Like, why is there please give me a logical reason why there's ties.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is they've been in football for so long that it's almost like it's normal. And again, this is a common thing in soccer. Soccer games end in ties all the time. And personally, I think it's just different in soccer because it's a completely different game, so it's a little bit different. And also, sometimes a tie in soccer is completely fine. Like, sometimes you play for a tie. Let me get off topic real quick, but in the World Cup, when the United States was playing England, right? Obviously, England is a lot better at soccer than the United States. So the United States is like, okay, we're not going to play to win. We're going to play to draw. There's no way we're going to beat them. And they did. That's fine. But in the NFL, it's a little bit different because it's just a completely different sport. So I feel like in some sports a tie is fine, but it's kind of weird that even in hockey doesn't end in a tie. You have a shootout, or in baseball they have extra innings, and basketball could be an infinite amount of overtime. The NFL is the only main sport in the United States besides, I guess, soccer, if you want to count that ends in a draw. So regardless, moving on. Washington, I know I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now about them getting Chase Young back. Oh, he's finally coming back. He's fine. But I know I've been saying that, but he actually will be playing his first game of the year. And that should be a big help for the Washington Commanders to make a playoff push. He won the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He tore his ACL last year. So let's see how much he helps this defense make it to the next level and make them elite as they already are. The winner of this game is in the driver's seat for the 6th seed in the NFC playoff picture. Obviously, the Cowboys have the 5th seed on lock. They're not going anywhere. But the 6th seed basically gets determined by this game. As long as they win the game, they should win. Whoever wins this game will be the 6th seed, and they'll be right in the driver's seat. When the 7th seed, whoever loses, has to fend off the Lions and the Seahawks. So it'll be a lot to, this has a lot of playoff implications. So I think the Giants are going to win 23-20. This is going to be a great game. Tune into it if you can. A lot on the line here. Must win for both of these teams. No more ties. No more bullshit. They have to win. Who do you think is going to win between the Giants and the Commanders?
Just a side note, what if they did tie? How mad the NFL fans would be if they tied?
I don't remember that ever happening in the box.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Team with 2 ties.
Especially with
maybe a long time ago. I'm talking the 40s.
Especially with how crucial this game is. Could you imagine? Oh my God, the world would go insane. Especially New York. Oh my, well, New Jersey, because the Giants technically play in New Jersey, but New York, New Jersey, however you want to call it, fans, they would go insane. Washington fans, they'd go insane. Because it's kind of hard to believe Washington Commanders actually have a fan base, but I generally believe. I think the Giants will win this game. I think Saquon Barkley is gonna I think he's gonna have 150 yards rushing. A couple of touchdowns. Daniel Jones, he's gonna do what he needs to do to win this game. because people forget, like, the previous game between these two teams where they tied, it was a very, very good game. It was a very good game. It obviously went into overtime and they tied, but like it was a very entertaining game to watch. And I think Saquon, it's personal to him, like, but he just hasn't like revealed it. Like, this man was taken out because of a injury for the longest time, and he wants that playoff experience, and I think he's going to get it. I think the Giants will eventually make the playoffs, and I think they win this game. I think they win it. I'm the 24-20 Giants, calling it, taking my shot.
Lead us into the last game, Shane, on Monday night.
All right, on to our next, completely lost train of thought for a second. On to our last game. Monday Night Football, we got the Rams, who are 4-9, versus the Packers, who are 5-8. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. Quarterback Baker Mayfield, the number 1 overall pick from the 2018 draft, practiced just once with his new team before rallying them into a crazy victory over the Raiders in his Rams debut. With usual starter Matthew Stafford more than likely out for the rest of the season with a spinal cord bruise, and then John Wolford more than likely out for Monday's game because of a neck injury. Baker Mayfield gets a chance to build his momentum as he attempts to rejuvenate his NFL career after the last couple of years has been very bad for him. And obviously, with the Packers unlikely to make the playoffs, and because of how the NFC and all their teams have been so tight and such difficult conference to compete in so far this year and to win out. There's been a lot of talks about should Aaron Rodgers start the rest of the games this year, or should they let Jordan Love play? Do you think Aaron Rodgers should take less reps at quarterback for the rest of the year? Well,
yeah. Well, actually, Aaron Rodgers said this that he does not mind getting benched as long as they cannot compete for a playoff spot anymore. Because not theoretically, they are well in it. If you think about the wild card spot, like they could win up to 9 games, and 9 wins might be enough to make the playoffs. So they're not out of it. Is it likely? No, but they're statistically not out of it. So I expect them that once they theoretically are out of the playoff picture, whether that be this week or next week, that Jordan Love does take some reps, even if it's only 2 games, just to see what they got with him. Because they did take him in the first round for a reason. So they traded up too. So
they're right now. I didn't even realize how far up they were in the playoff. The playoff hunt. They are seed number 10, but they also had the same record as the Panthers and the Falcons, and then the Arizona Cardinals are 4-9. So who's to say all 3 of those teams win and the Packers lose? They'll drop down at least 2 spots. So right now they're 10th in their seeding. So and then obviously the Rams, they're definitely not. They're 4-9 and they're 15th. So they're pretty much done for. They're pretty much the next team lined up to be eliminated. So I think Jordan Love should start playing a lot more. I really like him. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback in the future. And then Aaron Rodgers, he's just not the same quarterback that he used to be.
Right, I agree. He's not the same quarterback that has won back-to-back MVPs. And, losing Devontae Adams doesn't help, but, it's still Aaron Rodgers. He's still a Hall of Famer, You got to work with the weapons you got. But Christian Watson's been playing great. The rookie out of North Dakota State. So.
Yeah, that's probably the one upside from this offense, or this team in general, I should say, is like he didn't really start out like as a big-time target for the Packers, because obviously, it's a big question who was Aaron Rodgers going to lean on. And so far this year, over the last couple of weeks, he's leaned on him, and I believe he's got like 6 touchdown catches so far, and he's just been a dog so far this year. So, who knows? Maybe he's the future, great wide receiver to come out of the Green Bay. We had Jordan. I can't speak. Devontae Adams, obviously. Randall Cobb was another one. But who knows? Maybe Watson's the next, number 1 guy in Green Bay for the wide receiver position. But it'll be interesting to see how they treat Aaron Rodgers and, obviously how they play the next couple of games with where they're at in playoff wise. But who do you think is going to win this game?
I think the Packers are going to win this game. They just got the better team on paper all around. I think it's really cool that Baker Mayfield had his moment with the Rams, but I don't think lightning will strike twice. Give me the Packers 21-10. What about you? Or 21-13. What about you, Shane?
I don't know. Momentum is a very big thing in the NFL. Obviously, we've seen it like with teams in general, with how well momentum can uplift a team throughout the end of the year. So, do I think the Rams are going to win out and make playoffs? Hell no, they're not going to make the playoffs. Do I think this is a shot for Baker Mayfield to rejuvenate his career? Yes, I do. I honestly don't think he's like that bad of a quarterback, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a good game, but I do still think the Packers are going to win. I think the Packers are going to win 27-24. So that's my take on it.
27 to what?
27-24.
Oh, word. All right, guys. Well, that's to conclude week 15 of the Gridiron Talk Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends and family. Post on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're going to post on our Instagram, our social media. So thank you guys again so much for listening. Shane, do you have anything else you want to add before we conclude the episode?
No, I'm all good. Take a look at my podcast, the Ryder Rocket Podcast, episode 4 and maybe 5, if I can get time in Sunday, will be published on Spotify sometime on Sunday. More than likely, at least one of them will. Maybe not 2 of them, but look out for episodes 4 and 5 on Sunday on Spotify of the Ryder Rocket Podcast. And like Will said, thank you for tuning in here. Obviously, like, share, subscribe, follow, all that good jazz. We're going to be posting on our social medias, obviously, but thank you for tuning in.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay tuned either next Friday or Saturday for the next episode. Have a great weekend, guys. Christmas is going to be next weekend, so have a safe trip back. If you guys are in college and stuff, have a safe trip back home. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for listening. Stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all so much. Have a good one.